Welcome back to Kovacs Report. We are going to dive into DCKO All Fight Month with round number 8, Red Hood versus the Joker. And I know what you're going to say. What a predictable matchup. I know. But still, I thought maybe we're going to get something different here. Maybe we're going to get something a little bit interesting between the two of these. I mean, it's been done to death before, right? I'm pretty sure we're sick of it, you know. The crowbar's there, the Joker. We all know what happened that fateful day way back in Batman's lore. But here we are. Nice Corona cover. Snyder Williamson, Nguyen, Kamakodi, Morales, and Callies on the book. We're going to dive into it page by page, which means spoilers. Like the video if you can, hit subscribe too. I'd really appreciate it. Now, as you know, the 3 rounds are how these books are laid out, okay? You get 1 round in each of the person's sort of home ground and 1 round where, I guess, the Heart of Apocalypse or whatever.
Siempre me ha gustado la ciencia ficción y la idea de estar justo al borde del descubrimiento y las fronteras del espacio. Dedicarme a la exploración en ir.
Decides to put them in, and we start here with Jason Todd looking badass there with his little white streak in his hair, getting his guns ready. Okay, talking about that damn crowbar, talking about the fact that, you know, he's kind of he's fed up, you know, because ever since that day when the Joker caved him in, you know, and killed him, he feels that everyone looks at him but sees the Joker. They look at me like I'm the Joker's creation, like I'm his achievement, the crown on the clown prince of crime. You know, they don't see him. But it says today, that's going to end. Oh, yes. Anyway, really good. Joker, this is a fight to the death. Best 2 out there wins. Because I choose the arena. After this round, you choose your forms. So now fight. So he goes straight out of the gate. Now die. He gives you first again. Hee. You know what I mean? We know that was coming. And the fight starts. Now, the fight is pretty cool, actually. There's a nice bit here. We talks about the fact that the Joker is actually quite formidable, all right? Because he has this sort of third factor that makes him a nightmare in hand-to-hand combat. He says, it's funny. I remember the first time I saw Bruce fight him. I idolized Bruce back then, and I can still feel the shock of seeing Bruce, Batman, struggle against this bony, grinning goon who laughed at him the whole time. But now I get it, the hurricane of chaos, and that third factor, the worst part, the abandon, the way he fights like he doesn't care if he lives or dies. And he's just having fun. He says, I'm fighting for my life, and the Joker is just having fun. Anyway, there's something really confusing here, which I think at the last minute DC went maybe a bit much. So I'm going to try and decipher it. So Joker goes in for a sort of back of the leg cut, and then Jason here slammed his dagger in the back of his neck, and then boots the blade through his neck and out of his mouth. And you can see that they've placed the special effects over that blade to try and hide it. And then in the next panel, I think, and I can't see the blade sticking out of his mouth. So I think what's going on here? What's going on? I mean, that probably would kill someone, right? Anyway, the fight continues. He says, before we entered the tournament, the Quantum Quorum said we could bring something with us. 1 item, Batman Shield. He brought more than 1 item. Good. He says, right, I've got all these weapons. You know, I've got all these weapons I can bring, but there's 1 special weapon that I'm going to take in there. Okay? He says, listen, They said all our enemies would be locked up in the Phantom Zone far from the tournament, which is what the superheroes did. They tried to round up all the villains, put them in the Phantom Zone so they could deal with the problem, not the problem made worse by all these villains running around. But of course, as you know, some of them broke out, right? All of them, in fact. Anyway, he says, but my gut knew better, which is why I chose what I chose, because he's never locked away. Not really. I learned long ago that Joker is always lurking around the corner, just out of view. For years, Bruce studied the elements that made Joker into what he is, trying to figure out their secret, the Ace chemical compound, something that would kill the demon in Joker, turn him into a human once again. But he's only got one shot at this, and this gun, so you think, oh, this gun is going to make him human again, right? Anyway, the fight continues. We find out the Joker's got a forked tongue. Is that new to me? Have I missed something? I was a bit like, why? Why did he? Okay, but it's there anyway. Anyway, the Joker tries to jump from him, at him from behind, but he didn't get the drop from him. Jason spins round and he pops him. He pops that cap at him. The Joker's like, oh, this one feels a bit weird. I've been shot many times, but this one feels kind of funny. And he starts mutating into some grotesque, multi-headed, like multi-mouthed, clawed, drooling monster. And Red Hood says, Batman spent years on a cure. Luckily, he never found one because you don't deserve a cure. There's nothing human about you. Whatever you are never should have crawled out of the vat down there because they are, as you might have guessed, Ace chemicals. Okay? So these bullets are my idea of a cure. The compound in that bullet, it was produced from the same chemicals that made you, but amplified 1,000 times over. Death by the very stuff that should have killed you in the first place. And Joker's like, nicely played, but I also brought some toys. And he chucks out one of his Joker bombs. Explosion ensues, sending Jason flying back into the vat that claimed the Joker all those years ago and made him into the monster we see before you. And as he floats down, you can see him bubbling, twisting and turning. And as a little knock, broken neck happens and there's a KO. What an irony, right? What an irony. Now, first I thought, hey, come on. I get it. They're sort of reversing those things. But, where did the dagger through the mouth disappear to, right? And why are we going down this very predictable route? Could we have not got something a little bit different? Anyway, it's not terrible. I promise you it's not terrible. Anyway, we get to round 2, where they can choose their own forms, okay? So...
¿Te has preguntado alguna vez en qué
he decides to choose the form of the Robin he was when the Joker killed him, which I find confusing. I think it's supposed to be some cathartic sort of moment where he could defeat him, as the child he was, and that will go some kind of way to, I don't know, help erase some of the pain or at least make it better to deal with. And the Joker, he chooses his form, which you have guessed is this one, and he's got the crowbar, and there's the bomb, everything's going to explode, but this time it's going to be different, by God damn it, it's going to be different. So 30 seconds on the clock, and this younger version of Robin flies towards him, doing his acrobats, but the same thing happens. He's on the floor. The Joker cracks him one, but you know what? That's not going to happen this time, because he says, listen, time for another secret. Back then, I held back. Because I was worried if I fought back, I'd kill the Joker. And that kid, he would have rather died than disappoint Batman. I don't give a flying beep what Batman thinks now. I could let you die in this explosion, but payback's a bitch. So basically, all those years ago, Robin held back. I don't believe that at all. I really don't. I think when you are in that moment, trained or not, okay, your body, your brain kicks into survival, and you do whatever you can to survive, right? But anyway, for the sake of this story, this time it's different, and he gets the upper hand on the Joker, smacks him with a crowbar, and gives him some karma back, and he starts crushing him with his fists and the crowbar, and the Joker is on his last breaths. He's like, beg, Joker, beg. The Joker says, please, kid, die. Shoots the bomb, explodes the bomb, huge explosion, and Robin walks out victorious? ? But he walks out. Okay, and drops the dead body of the Joker, and he starts laughing. This is changing Jason. You can tell it's having some kind of mental tolling. So, of course, it's 1-1 with the final round going. So they have to choose their form here. So we go through all the various forms that he could have picked, all right? And he chooses the Red Hood, again, nodding back to the Killing Joke, nodding back to the Red Hood, nodding back to the legend of the Red Hood and all of that lore that I'm sure you know by now. And there he is. He is the Red Hood. Ooh, he's the Red Hood. But he's not. He's not really the Red Hood, is he? He's not. No, the Joker is the Red Hood. We all know that. And that's exactly what happens, is that the Joker himself comes back as that Killing Joke Red Hood. So he's his version of the Red Hood, and the Joker is his version of Red Hood. So it's Red Hood versus Red Hood. A lot of Red Hoods. So the fight continues. There's some stabbing, there's some flamethrowers, there's some more stabbing, falling to the ground into an open grave, of course. Very symbolic. There's a boot knife, a corkscrew. There's all sorts of death and destruction going down. But Jason is taking the upper hand, and he pulls off that helmet off his head, and he starts smacking him. Victory is won by Jason Todd as he climbs out of the open grave, drops the hood to his ground, has a little moment flashing back, and he knows that basically, it was a fight to the death and he's also dying. But it doesn't matter, right? Because the Joker's dead, which means he wins that round, right? So as he slumps up against his gravestone, we get this next page where we find out the Joker, the cheeky bastard, has a little device which restarts his heart right at the last second, which means he becomes alive just as Jason dies. So that little twist I liked. I liked it a lot. So yes, we did get a lot of predictable stuff, right? We did get a lot of the same tropes. We did get exactly what we thought we were going to get, apart from that last bit in the book. And it wasn't bad. I'll be honest, it wasn't bad. Reading it a second time, I kind of like it a little bit more. I know it's predictable. I know you're going to be like, yeah, but like, Red Hood or the Joker, the Crowbar. But it was all right. You've got to remember that these little fight tie-in books, they're kind of like, they're coffee break books. I keep saying this. It's my term. It's just read it and forget, basically. So Joker moves to the next round, which makes this interesting. Of course, they have to have a key villain moving to the next round. Everyone expects Lex Luthor to get round, but you've got to have Joker too, right? Because Batman's got to come round, some kind of last-minute hero as well, because he's off with his own little battle outside of the tournament. So we've got to have some classic villains at the end. I'm pretty sure that's where it's going. Now, each of these rounds have a little interlude back at the Watchtower, where we are seeing Booster Gold, who's actually Darkseid, fighting with the Time Trapper, and he has the Time Trapper up against the window, and there is some deep shit going on, because that Heart of Apocalypse has pumped up a lot of Omega energy now, and it's too late to stop what's about to happen, because the Earth is transforming into new Apocalypse, and this is going to be continued in DCKO issue number 3, and we see our Earth here just change and turn. I don't remember, they evacuated basically the population of Earth anyway, so they're going to have to use the Omega energy. If the Omega King, or whatever, I forget what the term is, but whoever becomes triumphant and wins this at the end can reshape the Earth back to what it was. But for now, it's in a lot of mess. There we go. So we are round 8. Is that all the rounds? Is this the final round? I think so. I think this is the final round before we get into the next set of fights. Ended quite happily with the Joker getting through. So, do I like it? Yeah. Do I love it? No. Is it a bad book? Definitely not. It's exactly what you expect. So, I think all in all, this 8-round sort of battle thing has been okay. It hasn't been as strong as the main DCKO book. They've just been nice little